from organizers over key logistical details has left participating nations and media scrambling for clarity. The opening match is set to see Morocco face Kenya at the Moulay El Hassan Stadium in Rabat, but with just 2 weeks to go, crucial operational information remains outstanding. The situation has now drawn a firm response from South Africa's Minister of Sport, Gayton McKenzie, who says the country is ready to step in if Morocco does not proceed with hosting duties.
But if they are not ready, we want to tell them, we are not a country with no stadiums. We are not a country with no infrastructure. We as South Africa will never be held hostage by countries that have less than what we have. We will not allow women's football to be. How in this day and age, people are scared to say it. I'm not scared to say it. If Morocco is not going to host it, South Africa, as the Deputy Minister said, we are standing ready.
This year's WAFCON is not only Africa's premier women's football event for the historic 16 participating countries, but it will serve also as a 2027 Women's World Cup qualifier. Any disruption could have significant implications for teams preparing for the global competition. As a result, 2022 WAFCON winner and coach of South Africa's senior women's national team, Desiree Ellis, is frustrated with the lack of information flow. She bemoans the treatment and handling of women's football on the continent.
Someone is listening if they can just give us a yes or a no. Because after the 7th, it becomes very difficult because the other dates belong to the tournament, so you can't keep the players. It's not a FIFA date where you can keep the players like an international FIFA date where it's a women's calendar date where you can play friendlies like we are now, because it was from the 25th to the 7th of March. After that, it's the tournament dates, and if we don't hear anything, we can't keep players because clubs can recall their players. I know other countries have already recalled, clubs have already recalled their players. And some players haven't even flown to their countries because of the uncertainty. And it's not really fair. I'm just going to raise one question. Would this happen in the men's game?
Meanwhile, CAF's head of communication and TV, Noon Law September, has reiterated that CAF will communicate within the next 48 hours on the situation regarding the WAFCON. With just days remaining before kickoff, stakeholders across the continent will be hoping for swift confirmation that the tournament will proceed as scheduled or otherwise.
That will be it for sports this morning, because we need to make way for that very big conversation here this morning. The Honorable Minister of Education is here in studio. Stay with us. Please don't go anywhere. Right after this break, that conversation will start. Bill, thank you.
Store in collaboration with Media General brings you a 10 with $2,000 package.
It's time to explore Ghana again. From 19th to 22nd March, join the Ghana Month Expedition. 3 regions, 4 days. Eastern, Ashanti, Central. We kick it off in the Eastern region. Chocolate experiences, fresh farm fruits, Safari Valley lunch with zebras and exotic animals, Bonsu Eco Park for canopy walks and zip ziplining, and then party at the Rock City Hotel. Ashanti takes over. Bonre Kente Museum, Kumasi Museum, Komfornochi Source Site, Lake Bosumtri for hiking adventures and sleepover at Rich Condos. Central brings the history. Asing Manso, Cape Coast Castle, plus lunch by the coast. Then a Crown Resort vacation, quad biking, horse riding, water adventures. All this for 6,500 Ghana Cedi single, 5,500 Ghana Cedi shared rooms, and 10,500 Ghana Cedis couple. You're interested, right? Call now 0531 100927 or 0247 120 633. Ghana Month Expedition, 19th to 22nd March. Don't just watch Ghana, experience it. It's time to explore Ghana again. From 19th to 22nd March, join the Ghana Month Expedition. 3 regions, 4 days. Eastern, Ashanti, Central. We kick it off in the Eastern region. Chocolate experiences, fresh farm fruits, Safari Valley lunch with zebras and exotic animals, Bonsu Eco Park for canopy walks, ziplining, and then party at the Rock City Hotel. Ashanti takes over. Bonre Kente Museum, Kumasi Museum, Komfornochi Source Site, Lake Bosumtri for hiking adventures and sleepover at Rich Condos. Central brings the history. Asing Manso, Cape Coast Castle, plus lunch by the coast. Then a Crown Resort vacation, quad biking, horse riding, water adventures. All this for 6,500 Ghana Cedi single, 5,500 Ghana Cedi shared rooms, and 10,500 Ghana Cedis couple. You're interested, right? Call now 0531 100927 or 0247 120 633. Ghana Month Expedition, 19th to 22nd March. Don't just watch Ghana, experience it. It's time to explore Ghana again. From 19th to 22nd March, join the Ghana Month Expedition. 3 regions, 4 days. Eastern, Ashanti, Central. We kick it off in the Eastern region. Chocolate experiences, fresh farm fruits, Safari Valley lunch with zebras and exotic animals, Bonsu Eco Park for canopy walks and ziplining, and then party at the Rock City Hotel. Ashanti takes over. Bonre Kente Museum, Kumasi Museum, Komfornochi Source Site, Lake Bosumtri for hiking adventures and sleepover at Rich Condos. Central brings the history. Asing Manso, Cape Coast Castle, plus lunch by the coast. Then a Crown Resort vacation, quad biking, horse riding.
1, 2, 3, let's go.
I'm way too hot. I'm too spirited. I'm cool tempered. This is my chance to see you. My girls are hips, you. I love my soccer. All my ladies taste like sugar. I'm made in Ghana. I'm made in Ghana. I'm made in Ghana. I'm made in Ghana. You can take me to London. I'm made in Ghana. You can take me to Lagos, but I'm made in Ghana. 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 You can take me to London. I'm made in Ghana. You can take me to Lagos, but I'm made in Ghana.
Like a besi kotoka, bugger unity, yeah, on the car. The cassette, voice I share, then your temperature. Now you put on one some pocket pressure. Now still you did that. And show one show love, you be my boss would yes, so when I treat the best, I have to some other fans for yeah. Rasta man say one love, from Bole to Accra, one soul. Saying I see the ya one do. Kill a will in the fire, one bow. But a man day, they want chop rango. Some few ones day, they want show. Gonna be the gateway, no be the window. You need not Ghana for representing a young show. Echo die Messica, and when you change the back, so none of the woman said that I best say you will say you will say. And why you miss that? Oh my God, about the rapper, but you run there to a sabo.
I'm made in Ghana. I'm made in Ghana. I'm
A one, a two, a one, two, three, let's go.
I'm way too hot. I'm too spirited. I'm cool tempered. This is my chance to see you. My girls are hips, you. I love my soccer. All my ladies taste like sugar. I'm made in Ghana. I'm made in Ghana. I'm made in Ghana. I'm made in Ghana. You can take me to London. I'm made in Ghana. You can take me to Lagos. But I'm made in Ghana. 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 You can take me to London. I'm made in Ghana. You can take me to Lagos. But I'm made in Ghana.
Like a besi kotoka. Boga unity, yeah, or the cat. The cassette, voice I share, then your temperature. Now you put from one some pocket pressure. Now still you did that. And show one show love, you be my boss with your CS. So when I treat the best, I have to some other fans. Why, yeah, Rasta man say one low. From bullet to Accra, one soul. Then you now see the one do. Kill a will in the fire, one go. But a man day, they want chop rango. But some few ones day, they want show. Gonna be the gateway, not be the window. You not Ghana for presenting a young show. Echo die Messica, and when you change the path, so none of the woman tell that I best say you will say you will say. And why you miss that? Oh my God, about the rapper, but you brought me to a sample. I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. A one, a two, a one, two, three, let's go.
Or from the opposition. What he needs significantly is the support of the Ghanaian people. Yet, yes, the economy has stabilized. Has it spurred growth? Has it generated employment? Those are the questions we should be asking.
Because critical among them...
that should be the trajectory of the economy. But any student of economics, tried knowledge, will accept that inflation has improved from 54 to 23 to 3.3%. Debt has improved from 746 billion to 644 billion, 61% of GDP to 45% of GDP. You cannot debate that and say that that is not good enough. Our debt was declared unsustainable. Remember that the MPP had even said that we will not go to IMF, we will not do IMF. Finally, they were there. But are we working in a way that this will be the last time ever that Ghana should be going to the IMF for a bailout or support in the name of ECF, External Credit Facility? Again, those are the questions we expect the Ghanaian people and you, the media people, to be probing about. Now, has John Mahama built institutions, and is he building institutions? Yes, he has. I've heard the MPP say that gold reserve was the thinking of Bawumia. Thoughts are not the same thing as action. What we do know... Well, they said it was and I say, what gold for oil, for example. What we do know is that a gold board was established under the administration of John Dramani Mahama. That gold board has raked in, taking advantage of the elevated price of gold, which is around $4,400 US dollars. It even went up to 5,200. Have raked in some 10 billion forex for the country. Was that the situation a year ago? No. So if you want to believe that John Mahama is building institutions, at least he established a gold board. And even for us, as Minister of Education, he established a scholarship authority. That's a new institution.
Well, the argument they make is that at least they thought about using gold as a backing currency, so to speak, at least for
President Mahama and the Minister of Finance is simply taking advantage of the tailwind advantage of the elevated prices of gold. And I'm sure many other countries are doing that. Even though the risk, I shared this position. If you take Gordon Brown probably sold British gold when he was Prime Minister of UK. He's come under some scrutiny today, saying that Gordon Brown contributed to Britain losing up to £48 billion. So we must learn lessons from other countries, even as we take advantage of gold.
Because
and
your colleague in Parliament, the former Minister Kojo Ponkroma, has been raising issues, especially in relation to the economic policies of the president and then also his government in itself, and why, going by Article 36(5), he needs to come to Parliament, outline those plans well, based on what the provisions are in the Constitution. I don't know, because you raised the subject of the Constitution, and then the economic performance of the government, what will be your response to that?
You know, I have enormous respect for Kojo, particularly that we work with you people, with him in the media, but he is constitutionally moot and out of place.
Out of place?
Out of place constitutionally. Article 36(5) imposes a burden on the president to present before Parliament a coordinated program of action within 2 years. President Mahama have honored that. I'm told reliably that on the 4th of February, I'm sure we were then in Lusaka with the president, that particular bill was laid before Parliament. So it's much ado about nothing. I'm not sure there's any constitutional issue that he ought to be raising. There's none exists.
He has no premise?
President Mahama, he should go to court. The Supreme Court will throw him out. In limine. They will not tolerate it. It will be a waste of time of Ghana's judicial process. That has been done. And all other policies will be derived from it. Now, 24-hour economy, the policy was presented. When you say a bill is presented to Parliament, probably for, Kojo is not a newcomer, but for learners in Parliament, when you are at the second reading of a bill, you are debating the policy principles of the bill. That's the essence of second reading. So the president brings in a bill, his first justification must be mischief. So at least, even by way of institutions, I mentioned Gold Board, I mentioned Scholarship Authority, the 24-hour economy have been established. But I think the most important thing about the 24-hour economy is what kind of strategic incentive regime are we clothing the institution with in order that it can attract foreign direct investment and spare. In many countries, light manufacturing industry can benefit from it. In Ghana, as the president spoke, value addition. How does 24-hour economy make us have advantage in processing our banana, orange, pineapple, and the rest? You have to improve what we call your phytosanitary condition of many of your products that you want to be able to export abroad. So in my view, another institution have been established, but we need to fund it and fund it adequately. And this is my thinking. Akusumbo Textile, Japan Textile, open it up, advertise. Any investor who can come and run a 24-hour economy should have it. It will generate employment. Then when they begin producing these local Ghanaian textiles, then schools can now go, Ministry of Education and GS can now even get school uniform from Akusumbo Textile or from Japan Textile. Then you'll be establishing a value chain. So I'm not too sure that Honorable Kojo Ponkroma has any constitutional basis. Maybe earlier, if he had done so in January. But even in January, President Mahama is still within the law. The Constitution uses the word within 2 years. Within 2 years means before the end of 2 years, if you want to interpret it the way you want. So I think that President Mahama have stabilized the economy, no doubt about it. The city has stabilized, and as he himself teasingly said, he's not arrested it. He has strengthened the city against all other major currencies. What that has done, it has contributed to reducing Ghana's debt burden. And you see, for business people, it gives them room to plan. They now know that, as I use the word, I'm sure I used it here when I came the last time, the epileptic fall of the city
has
now given way.
No, but you shouldn't be too happy yet. The consensus are out there, the jury is still out there. We have the Middle East crisis in its formative days, so to speak, and that could have some influences.
Absolutely, no need. But I've already seen social media saying that don't come and use external volatility as excuses. As we saw in the past, we had COVID, we had others. That is why I'm sure the Minister of Finance wants to accumulate more gold reserve in order that the stability can be strong and the economy can respond to such threats in future.
And it's good that we started the conversation on the subject of the economy, because that encapsulates all forms of expenditure from all sectors, including the sector that you manage, education as well.
Yes.
And it would also mean that the key issue about maintaining free SHS and how it is in terms of its form needs some reforms. What's on your table so far?
If you listen to President Mahama at the State of the Nation address, he drove home a fundamental reform he wants to lead. If you look at our funding as it is now, for instance, you take Get Fund, 61% is spent on free senior high school, 9% on basic education, and probably less than 25% on tertiary education. Get Fund was established to expand infrastructure for tertiary education. It means that we are weakening its traditional mandate and role to fund higher education. But everywhere in the world, if you want to get your education right, you must invest more in basic education. The president hinted at that in the State of the Nation address. So now government policy will realign investment and allocation of financial resources more in favorable of basic education. The president spoke about, annually, as I sit here as minister, my concern is when they write WASI, how are you going to place the student? Because yes, you launched free senior high school, but the previous administration failed to provide for expanded infrastructure by way of classrooms and by way of lecture theaters, ICT, to accommodate the exponential increase in those numbers. I mean, thankfully, President Mahama and the Ministry of Finance, the World Bank is supporting the Ministry of Education with $300 million to convert a number of Category C schools to B, a number of Category B schools to A, and expand infrastructure in the Category A schools. We've started engagement with the World Bank, with procurement. On or about May, June, we should award contracts and get contractors with muscle to begin work so that within a year, we should be able to expand access to free senior high school. But the novelty, even though that has weakened Get Fund's traditional funding for higher education, is that no student in any free senior high school is struggling to get food to eat, because the president directed that Get Fund should absorb $4.2 billion. So even in their formula, which was approved by Parliament last year, an allocation of $4.2 billion have been made to support free senior high school. We want to create a skeleton of a free senior high school secretariat, regional coordinators to supervise it. We are hearing headmasters preferring food, and some of the food, there are difficulties with storage and many other related issues. But for me, the most significant part of the Get Fund amendment was that the president pledged to provide free education for persons with disability. We've honored that through the Get Fund amendment. We want to introduce free education for all persons with special needs and get assistive devices for those in those schools, like Akropong School, the Ho School, the Kumasi School. And the president announced that we are increasing their feeding grant from 8 cities to 15 cities. That has never happened since 1993. And then we intend to build special education school in Ho and then in Akropong. I'm sure we are still trying to see if the World Bank will accept to finance that in addition to the $300 million they are allocating. So that you have a one-off shop where any person with a hearing difficulty or with sight or with other autism and others can be able to access education.
Those schools you want to upgrade from
yes.
C to B, so
yes.
to speak. We have many schools within that category. How many do you intend capture from June going?
In fact, currently, per our budget, we're looking at 30, 18, and then there are 13 districts in Ghana that doesn't just have a free senior high school facility with honor and dignity. So, for instance, in Latobio Kwashi, you want to build a day school akin to what you have in Kwabinya. In Nima here, you want to build a day school akin to what you have in Kwabinya. We must work towards debordernization. I'm not announcing a policy that debordernizes all. The focus should be rural peri-urban. You bordernize.
As an alternative.
Absolutely. In urban areas, you reduce borderization. That's what it should be. Go to Kwabinya and see that school which was built. We should have similar of that. I mean, if you go to Asawasi, you should be able to build that. Or you want to build that in Zwarungu or in Elembele, we should be able to get that done.
And I see that as Minister of Education, just as also announced by way of your policy and also in the budget, you have a special focus also, like the previous administration, on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Yeah.
Are you continuing the policy of the previous government and expanding it, or it's a new thing altogether? For example, there's even one model school just around East Legon and thereabout.
Uncompleted, and they rise to its use. You see, you are endangering the lives of the people using the infrastructure. I've had to do a structural integrity examination of that building. There's some additional work that have been done. I think we are seeking to build two of it. One in Bole, in the Savannah district, then Kakpaile in the Tamale area. We'll build a number of those STEM schools. But I'm not one of those who would not give credit. The previous government did their part in expanding access to STEM education, no doubt about it. I know that we are even taking delivery of some huge quantities of things that is meant for those schools. I think they gave a contract to someone who was supposed to construct about 20 of it. He ended up doing about 6. I'm asking him to complete about 3 of it, one of which should go to Elembele, as I mentioned, one to Zwarungu, and the other one, I think I'm looking at the Oti region. So significant to President Mahama focus, want to be able to establish a TVET fund and probably take 10-15% of GET fund dedicated to technical and vocational education. So this year, last year, GET fund had about 100 million Ghana cedis. We want to dedicate that to the commencement of work on 3 technical universities for Dambai, Techima, and Damongo. And know that the President graciously has given out his 30 million equivalent US dollars to start the Science and Technology University in Damongo. The President, but for the development in Middle East, I don't know what his thoughts are. He probably may be visiting South Korea, and we expect that he would ask for additional financing of about 100 to 150 million US dollars to use 50 million to complete the University for Engineering and Agricultural Sciences at Bunsu, then dedicate the other 100 million so that you have 130 to do Damongo, and that will serve that part of the country in terms of expanding access to tertiary education.
Of course, education is always a critical point, and I think your personality also adds to it as well. And so when we had a poster made and then we put it on social media, it seemed to have engendered a lot of interest. So I had all forms of questions.
I'm happy to answer them.
Okay.
I'm happy to answer them.
Africa Education Watch, EduWatch,
yes.
Kofi Asare, says teacher shortages had gone from bad to worse. Basic schools requiring about 30,000 additional teachers. In Tatale, Sangwele district, for example, 20% of primary schools are staffed by a single teacher, and you cascade it down. It means that we need to have more focus, make sure that teachers, etc., are there. Yet we have others who are not posted.
I've been in some policy discussion where he has shared his thought, and I take his comment very, very seriously with a lot of premium and weight. You recall that I had announced to the public that if Ghana was to meet its teacher requirement, we'll be requiring to recruit about 98,000 teachers. the compensation budget of government cannot accommodate that. But I know that the Honorable Minister of Finance is doing a joint memo with the Minister for Education for Cabinet to give approval for the recruitment of the cohort of teachers from 2023 to 2024. I now know that very soon you have the 2025 added. We cannot take all of them at the same time, but we certainly will absorb some numbers. Minimum, we should be doing 6,000 to 10,000 to start with in order to respond to the need across the country. Now, the quality of basic education, as I said, I'm primarily very concerned, is declining. And we need to strengthen foundational learning. Our partners, the Global Partnership for Education and others, have given us some 118 million to support foundational learning, and then to take advantage of play-based learning and matters relating to the use of local language, which I probably didn't communicate well. English remains Ghana's official language, but we are encouraging as much as possible the use of local language in the formative years, because children learn better evidentially when they are taught in their own language. So, for instance, in the Greater Accra region, we are encouraging the teaching of Ga traditionally, and then in Akan areas, we encourage the teaching of Twi. In the Mwale Dagbani areas, each of the groups, currently I have a request to include Gurunle, Bulsa, and then Ahanta. Currently, Ghana has 12 official languages. You heard the concerns that was raised, and I came under some justified attacks when I said that artificial intelligence should expand to the 12 languages when Google itself came to do an experiment with 3 languages. That was not a Haruna Idrisi initiative. I only was telling Google that seek to expand what you are doing so that other Ghanaian languages can benefit from AI. So we currently have a curriculum review committee. We are setting aside about 20 million Ghana cedis in the approved get found formula to support the work of the curriculum review committee. What it should do is that we want to introduce ethics. You are talking about corruption, patriotism, love of country, nationalism, and others. It should be part of the formative training. Financial literacy, part of that training. You see all this violence going on and indiscipline. They must learn to love each other, even as a student, as they exist. Yeah.
And as you inherit and you're grappling with that backlog of 2023, 2024, it also means that you think about their allowances and
even that, there are those of them who were boarded on who have not received the full complement of their compensation. I'm in discussion with the Honorable Minister for Finance and the Control Accountant General to do right to them, because we promised that we're going to give them a certain amount and a certain percentage of their deserved arrears. I'm sure that we are working at. That, and that will be done.
During the campaign, the debate about licensure exams and then what is being implemented now, just over the last couple of days, or I think the last week, it came up again within the public domain. What's the ministry's policy? Are you cancelling licensure, or it is rather being added to?
No, we said we incorporate it into the final year training of universities and colleges of education. That we are doing. But the University of Ghana had a peculiar case and wrote to the ministry to grant them an exemption in order to conduct a licensure exam for certain category of persons who had graduated in education. So there will be an end to licensure exams. We're not going to continue it as government. And I think that the technical advisor, Professor Drew, and the chairman of the National Teacher Council is handling that very well at the committee level. I asked the committee to look at it. And then also standards. Our professional standards are falling. They shared with me the examination results of the licensure exams. I was very concerned about...
I don't understand. They didn't do well?
The standards was poor, was not the best.
You are being diplomatic. Of course, you are the minister.
The standard was not the best.
How do we improve the standard?
Continuous training of teachers. There are continuous professional training. their motivation and morale, which is get them decent accommodation, support those who accept to go into rural areas to get the incentives of the 20% that the president pledged. And then let's work on the Teacher Dabre initiative. So we're trying to combine resources, get fund, district assembly common fund, use GSOP, which is a pension of teachers, as collateral guarantee in order to get the 50,000 housing going. The administrator of district assembly common fund travel elsewhere to engage. So we'll do a trial cabinet memo, Minister of Finance, Minister of Local Government, Minister of Education, to see how we combine our effort to give true meaning to the pledge that the president made to Ghanaian teachers.
If it comes to the accommodation, of course, you touched base with it when you appeared alongside the president at the NAT Quadrennial Conference or something like that. And I know teachers are also scattered across the country.
Yeah.
So if you're facing it, how do you want to start off? Or what will be the intention?
There's currently a decentralization policy before cabinet. I don't have a mandate for decentralization, but Excellency Vice President Professor J. Nana chaired the meeting on behalf of the president to get approval, which was the recommendation of the Interministerial Coordinating Committee. The thinking of President Mahama is that adjust the District Assembly Common Fund maybe from 5% progressively to 6% to 7%, and dedicate 1% of it to education and ask for decentralization of education. Well, the president is asking the question that why must a teacher be recruited by GS headquarters and not the district assembly at the assembly level? So his thinking is that if you get this 1% dedicated to education, why is a doctor and a nurse recruited at the national level and not at the district assembly level? Dedicate that 1% of the common fund. But I'm sure when the Minister for Local Government comes to cabinet and get the president approval, it will be a major policy blueprint that will redefine the devolution and delegation of powers, particularly affecting the decentralization of education and health.
Okay. So the recruitment, you're working with the finance minister?
We are doing a joint cabinet memo.
I'm getting many of them on the stream. That's
I know. A lot of the teachers are not particularly happy with government, happy with the Minister for Education. I see justified demonstrations and picketing at the ministry. But I am not the approving authority. I wait for the Minister for Finance to grant me clearance, which clearance will indicate that I recruit 10,000 teachers. Then I proceed with GES to do that. I don't have the approval, and therefore it is not a case of Haruna Idris, or Minister for Education, not wanting to help teachers. We recognize that we need teachers across the country, as I said, to improve foundational learning, particularly basic education.
Over the last couple of months, it's a subject that has been always a debate over the last 10 years, 15 years. It's a subject matter of indiscipline.
Yeah.
The Akufo-Addo-Bawumia administration sought to tinker with the Parent-Teacher Association.
We are restoring it. We are restoring Parent-Teacher Association.
So in
the management of our schools.
What's the position on
so that parents will support the management of schools. It's part of our GP key performance, improving the management of our educational institution. So we are restoring it. I think that a particular group was unhappy and went to court, and that stalled what we intended to do. But the child is not just the child of the parent. When the child leaves home, parental responsibility is transferred to the teacher until the child gets back home. It's a shared responsibility, and I think that we will do our part on behalf of the state. What is important is to expose Ghanaian learners to what their counterparts everywhere in the world is exposed to. So as I was discussing with you about curriculum review, which the president mentioned in the State of the Nation address, we are thinking that artificial intelligence, robotics, coding, electronics should be introduced at the kindergarten basic school level, so that in the formative years, Ghanaian children will be exposed to it. Now, currently, we have a number of tablets that was procured under the new Patriotic Party government, which has been distributed across the country. 1 million of it have been distributed. About 680,000 of it have been activated. I have asked that it be used ethically and responsibly, but we want to be able, I've asked the contractor to ensure that on or before 30th July, the full complement of the contract of 1.3 million devices are supplied and functional in the schools. There are problems with some of the, we have to improve the charging system. Some of the students are using it and using it very well. But I want to do the same thing for junior high school. We should have tablets for all students in junior high school with the content built into it, including textbooks. I mean, in rural areas where you don't have this tablet, what is their access to textbooks? So why would you be surprised if they don't do well?
Well, there are some rural schools, Honorable Minister, that don't have adequate supply of electricity. So it's a question of whether...
It's part of the challenge for digital education in Ghana. Access to electricity, access to broadband internet connectivity. There are interventions that even go offline now, like what we experimented in Banvum a few moments ago. So we will as government invest more in infrastructure at all levels, even at the tertiary level. We think that many of the institutions should enter into PPP partnership to expand accommodation infrastructure so that the state can focus on free tuition and providing other things that enhance learning at
For the medical
tertiary
profession,
level.
the conversation has always been urban, rural, postings, etc., as part of motivation. Yeah. When it comes to the teachers, you provide incentives. Are you willing to pay the incentives? I know there's a 20%.
You know, we are the largest on the payroll of government, over 380,000 teachers. That has implications. So anything you want to do to them, you are careful of the cascading effect of analogous groups within that particular entity. What we do want is our teachers to be disciplined themselves and to provide for the discipline of learners. And I think, as I said, it's a shared responsibility between the parent, management of school, traditional rulers, and then the learners themselves.
One of the key considerations that the teachers seem to think that they need to undertake is to also ensure that the results for senior high schools improve. And the last one hadn't been good. You had given explanations to that. Since then, what is being done to bring it at par?
I engaged the Director General of GES only a few days ago, and I was sharing with him a worrying pattern. I'm aware that about 30,000 students may not have been able to qualify for tertiary education because they were unable to pass maths or English. We are trying to look at the cost implications and probably to direct that all those students who are unable to pass in mathematics be boarded on to write this year's WASSCE maths so that they don't stay at home longer. If you are not careful, you may destroy the career path of those young people. So I was looking at a re-examination of the numbers. How many did not do well in mathematics against science and English? Predominantly, it was a problem of maths. So I was looking at a scenario where particular students did well in every other subject, save for maths. But I don't interfere, as I have said, with assessment institution. It's a West Africa Examination Council that conducts exams. It's only in Ghana that when people fail exams, you blame a minister. I have not seen or heard that anywhere in the world. If you look at the examiner's report, it was more of the students struggling with application, questions that related to application, and was not those dedicated to memory. So many of them went into the exam thinking that they could just memorize and pass, and that was not the case.
Okay. There's a question on TVET. TVET.
Yeah.
What's your policy direction then?
I think the future of addressing the growing unemployment in Ghana lies in technical and vocational education. Now, we have not invested much in it. There was a loan facility of about 158 million euro, which started a number of TVET institutions, no thanks to that exchange in Nanado's were the darkest hour of his government. That stalled. Many other projects stalled. And Roland, is one of the things that I have raised up very strongly. Since 2022, a number of those dead stalled projects are still stalled. They may be adding on to the country's burden in terms of debt, but we need some of those projects completed, like the TVET one of 158 million euro. And I think that a number of it, once this debt agreement have been signed with the Paris Club and others, we should see a number of them see light, and then we get it implemented. So I'm a strong advocate of investing more in TVET education. I don't see why a TVET institution should do 70% theory, 30% practical. It should be the opposite, 90% practical and probably 10% theory, or a mix of it, which favors practical.
Is it part of the new curriculum you're discussing?
Not just curriculum, you need resources. It's not about curriculum. When you go into that school and they don't have he goes to learn carpentry. He has never seen a sword. What kind of carpenter are you coming to produce? So we need to invest more. You see, if you go around the country, there are many people who just need some basic skills in order to earn a living. You can train them in the area of TVET, and then they can make a productive contribution to the overall development of the country.
Just a rewind. The curriculum, you're having a discussion on it.
There's a curriculum review committee.
Artificial intelligence,
coding, electronics, and robotics. And then we'll produce teacher manuals to support that.
All right. Now, let's come to mainstream politics, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. The Nima by-election. That's Ayawaso East.
I should congratulate my colleague, Baba Jamal. I was at NDC party headquarters with him. I'm sure he was Deputy General Secretary at the time. But you know, for many, they forget. I've been one of the oldest at the NDC headquarters, starting the struggle far back in 2002 as his national youth organizer, because I got elected as Member of Parliament for Tamale South. And as young as I look, this is my 21st year in the Parliament of Ghana. So Baba Jamal comes with some depth of knowledge. You know, he was my deputy when I was Minister for Employment and Labor. And he's strong. I want to congratulate him and congratulate the people of Nima. We should be concerned about the numbers. The turnout was not encouraging. And I've always insisted that what is the dividend of democracy for the Ghanaian people? That is why the president has our support, full support, that the reforms he wants to lead, he must lead it through administrative, legal, and constitutional reforms. So I'm one of those who think that it's long overdue that Ghana reviews its 1992 constitution. The president, understandably, from the Attorney General, is putting a constitutional review implementation committee to work with Parliament to deal with entrenched and non-entrenched provisions of the Constitution. And I think that we all swore to uphold the Constitution, and the Constitution that provides express provisions how you should walk through a process of constitutional amendment in Article 290291 of the 1992 Constitution. Now, Kenya in 2010 undertook a constitutional review. Ghana may want to learn from the Kenyan experience, whether that has served them right or wrong. But what is important is the constitutional review coming to create strong institutions that allow for transparency in governments, accountability in government, and value for money for the Ghanaian person. So constitutional review, an imperative. We should get it done. And Article 291, as I said, provides how the Constitution should be amended, entrenched and non-entrenched. And for me, what's fundamental is that sovereignty resides in the people. And I think that we should at all times know that the power we exercise in the name of the Ghanaian citizen.
Yeah, and it's good that you brought the political party, the Constitution, then entrenched articles in the Constitution as well. But more importantly, building stronger institutions and political parties. Because you're an experienced member of parliament. You cut across between old and young, so you're in between there. At the end of the day, the concern...
Well, I don't want me to grow. I'm not young again. I'm middle-aged now.
Oh, well, not necessarily middle-aged, but, you know. But at the end of the day, the concern about monetization came up in Isayawa, so the MPP primaries, you know, there had been concerns and all that. What do you think we need to do to sanitize, to improve monetization of our politics?
You have to go back. During the days of Afarijan, and I'm sure I can say this without fear of contradiction, at the time I used to work with Jean Mensah when she was at the Institute of Economic Affairs. Recently, I returned on a trip to with the president from Lusaka, Zambia, and I was sharing with some of our colleagues who were on the trip that I was in Zambia to redraft their electoral code for them far back 2010, 2011. It was the Institute of Multi-Party Democracy supporting the IEA that took me to Zambia. Now in Ghana, financing of political parties, we've abandoned it. We need to reignite the debate and find a certain resources to support political parties and to strengthen the parties in parliament so that the majority and minority can make a determination who deserves a repeat term and who doesn't deserve. But I know in Ghana's competitive adversarial politics, we have to go back. You remember even at the time, Dr. Afarijan and a team of experts spoke much more eloquently about the need for minimum financing of political parties. Now, the fear was, where are you going to get the resources from? But what is happening in Ghana, it is not good for the future health of our democracy with the huge doses of money and facilitation that we see at primaries level up to the level of getting elected. And we should not pretend, it's not just members of parliament, even party office holders. And let them be reminded, Article 55 of the Constitution defines political party office holders as public officers. So don't think that you're chairman or general.
Even their internal election.
Absolutely.
Because it's even transcended to SRC elections.
So that is a problem with the New Patriotic Party. You know, they've gone to elect Dr. Bawumia, but it's like they've turned the walking stick. You go into an election in 2024, you lost the election, you have not reorganized, you have not changed your branch elections up to regional. You just go and elect a flag bearer arising out of the same system that produced what probably produced you a defeat. I thought that that was not consistent with the internal democratic standard in the 1992 Constitution. We are now hearing Kodua, the General Secretary, announce that the party is going to go through an internal process. Why didn't you do that first? Why didn't you do that? Okay. If we are respecting the tenets of democracy, we know the MPP. You know the NDC have grown. I mean, I still recall when the NDC was going to Congress, even when we had to take this difficult decision of leader, founder, open up the election, the NDC itself. You know the NDC in the past, how we chose parliamentary candidate. It was a few people sitting and making a determination. We demanded that there must be internal democracy. There are people who just heard their radio that there were candidates to run an election. I still remember traveling to Bursa in Sandema with the late DS Boateng those days. Then as we arrived at the Chief Palace, a candidate for the constituency was named for us. In fact, that's what gave birth to an MP of blessed memory, Fati Mboku. Arising out of it, the NDC again produced an independent Akudbila in that area. So internal democracy within the political parties is significant, and we must strengthen our political parties. So if you don't find resources and change the way political parties are run in Ghana, there's no way you can deal with the monetization question.
So that has to be done first?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now everybody thinks that access to wealth, going into politics, going into public life, must that be the case? Why are we not encouraging people to be entrepreneurs and to be
the NDC,
own?
After all this period, now you have individuals in government now, some will serve in party, etc. You then have to set the clock again and make sure that you run the race top to bottom. Get ready for 2028. Based on your own experiences?
I think that President John Dramani Mahama holds key to the future success of the NDC in 2028.
Why?
His best legacy will be the NDC winning 2028. Other than that, what would be the measure of his return? It will be, I have done well, I've justified the renewal of the mandate of the NDC. And he's focused on that. What the leadership of the NDC must understand and respect is that John Mahama remains the leader of the party by the constitution of the party, nothing more. He is. But you now see some communication of some differences where that's why we are a Congress. But the NDC have come of age. Do you recall the Congress in Tatco? You recall those days is when you started media work? Even to put the question, the Honorable Jirasa, if you remember,
yes.
When he got to the question, I had to come and help him and say that, look, this is NDC Congress. We are putting the question to the delegates to decide the future of the party. Because we said that wanted to build a formidable, resilient party beyond the life and significant contribution of President Jerry Rawlings. And that we have achieved.
Okay.
That even his demise have not weakened the NDC as a political party. And we are competitive today compared to a political party which traced its roots to 1948 or 1951. But there's still more to do with improving the internal democratic process. I think that the way we choose members of parliament will have to change. The primaries process, highest bidder, no.
You think the membership in terms of the delegate list should increase? For example, there's a case in court.
The NDC tried it and then walked back. In fact, at the time when they were going to try it, I recall a meeting in Medina when I warned them, you can do that in government. Can you replicate that in opposition? I remember that vividly. I was sitting with Honorable Kofi Adam, now Minister for Youth and Sports. So there are cautions, but at least what is significant is that Ghana is democratic, we are peaceful, we are stable, there is financial, economic stability. The president needs to work harder to spur growth and ensure that it manifests in employability of more young people. You recall in 2016 when I said as Minister for Employment that unemployment was a national security crisis. Many didn't appreciate it. Today is a ticking time bomb.
Okay.
And we need to be able to find answers to address the growing unemployment in the country.
Time passes, you know. You and I started this conversation almost an hour, and you've been talking, I've been asking the question, the time is up almost. But so the NDC needs to rebuild, etc. You're also serving in government, we have others. So when you sit, let's say, in the office of the Ministry of Education, and you see us, right, I don't know whether you can call it rubbish or speculation.
Not at all.
That you're one of the individuals, just Julius Debra, there's a Siedun Ketia, the Atu Forsen, etc. What's the focus? I want to concentrate in office and ignore the naysayers.
My focus is on improving and ensuring that there's inclusive, quality, equitable education from basic to tertiary. My constraint and frustration has been my inability to garner enough adequate resources to support the dream and vision of the president. But I'm sure as the economy improves, allocation will also improve. And I think, for instance, there's a question of ending double track. There are about 100 to 200 schools. All they need is furniture to end double track. The GET Fund has capacity to acquire those furniture, make those furniture available. I was in Kwatia in the Kwao area. One of the schools there has ended double track. And in fact, I'm coming to reward them with expanded infrastructure for going ahead.
They did it on their own?
Yeah, I think one of the popular schools in the Nkwatia area.
Is it St. Peter's?
St. Peter's. I think the Reverend came to greet me when I arrived for the speech and prize given day. We'll be honoring them. And some, by way of observation, you want to expand quality tertiary education, we are looking at a university in Achirenswa. More feasibility is almost completed for university in Kintampo. And the president wants Dr. Krisama Okunuama to chair a committee to guide us as to what to do. And I'm sure we would give you a blueprint, but we are looking at 3 technical universities, as I've said. I realigned resources from 2025 formula of the GET Fund to get Dambai, Techima, and Damangu started.
Okay. I have this comment, it just came in. So, he's an experienced member of parliament. Ask him about the behavior of the minority leader. He just apologized to Muntaka after, accusing him of criminally organizing and recruiting individuals for the security services. How do you tend to cope?
We all treasure and respect reputation. And it's important that at all times we respect other persons and uphold their standing. You know, I was minority leader. Did you ever see me apologizing or retracting my words?
No, actually, you even accused that you were too nice.
When you are not sure,
with
don't
all
talk.
sides.
And I say, when you are not sure, don't talk. But fundamentally, unless the Ghanaian people are forgetting, you are talking about Ajapa. It was a strong minority which made sure Ajapa never passed. Probably it could be somebody's way of using it to raise gold reserve. E-levy. To have a minority stand together for 6 months, that's leadership. I mean, we look at President Mohammed's ministers. In consultation with him, those are key, brilliant, promising young persons who are put in those positions, have been maintained as ministers. They demonstrated depth, whether it's Jinapo or Akando or it's Kofi Adam. We worked as a team. The minority leader needs to choose his battles.
He needs to choose his battles?
Yes.
How do you mean?
You know, if you've read authorities in parliamentary jurisprudence, the truth must always rest with the minority. So make sure when you are speaking as minority leader, you are certain that you cannot be contradicted. And for my tenure, you can go and measure. Someday, I'll reveal to the Ghanaian people, I hear who was present and who was not present. That lady MP knows herself, who probably was not available to take a vote that particular day. Certainly not Haruna Idriso. The lady MP knows herself. She knows who she spoke to. I probably wasn't aware. But you know, as minority leader, I needed to protect her seat. That's why I never wanted people to know who was that person. Okay. I mean, even in the vote on e-levy, as late as when I was on my feet, there are about 4 or 5 minority members who were on their way back to parliament. So strategically, you prolong the debate to make sure your numbers are intact before you go into the vote. Okay. So we're very strategic as a minority, and I'm sure we laid the foundation as a minority for the NDC victory in 2024. It didn't just happen by chance.
All right. My last question.
Including the election of the speaker, which never, ever happened. And people now quote my words. I still recall meeting the party leadership at Marriott Hotel when I told them that a tortoise will ride an elephant at dawn. And a tortoise rode an elephant. We marshaled our strategy. We worked together closely. You remember us in North and the politics of getting him arrested together, even with the MP for Savulugu. The MP for Savulugu, there was a warrant for his arrest and for him to be tried for some criminal offense. But we managed it. But for me, what is important, Ghana is a country governed by law. We should respect our institutions and respect our constitutional processes. Yeah. And those processes that guarantee. So the way we elect members of parliament, the political parties have to change and change fundamentally. Right. Other than that, we risk jeopardizing the democratic future of our country. All right. With the
for many of you on our street who keep asking about the
yeah.
2023 teacher recruitment, he's spoken about it. Just make sure 2,900 people watching us.
It's largely a decision of the Minister for Finance.
A lot of people taking interest in you.
I've made my request.
Okay.
I've made my request
my last
to the
question.
Minister for Finance.
There seem to be the grassroots of the party, the NDC, who are disgruntled. They feel that they're not getting too many opportunities. As an experienced party person, what do you have to tell them?
I've worked at the NDC headquarters for long, and generally, expectations are very, very high. And part of the expectation reflected in the disappointment in the previous government and the extraordinary mandate President Mahama won. But what NDC food soldiers are comparing is that, under MPP, this one got a job, that one got a job. Under NDC, it's been a year, I haven't gotten mine yet. When you are running an austere, disciplined economy, you may not be able to do some of the things that were done before. And I think that justifiable. I'll give you a personal example. Yesterday, as I woke up, I had to call a chief executive and tell him that my director of elections is still unemployed. You know why?
South.
Yes. I bring in over 60,000 votes. I don't want people to look at him and say, is it worth dying for Haruna? Conscionably, I should be minded that he deserves to be placed. But the challenges may not afford me the opportunity to be able to do that. How many vacancies exist? How many opportunities exist? And at least it's important that we come to it. Part of the reforms, President Mahama is running government with the lean size of government, unprecedented in the Fourth Republic, from 93, 88, 108, 103 ministers to 60 ministers. I think that constitutional review must address that and make it that tomorrow, no elephant government comes to have an elephant size of government. No. If John Mahama can run with 60, it should be possible for any other president of this republic tomorrow to run with same or even less. That is how you, when you say you are protecting the public.
You want us to enshrine it in law?
I think so. I think so.
All right. Thank you very much.
Not this fluid provision.
Thank you very much. The Minister for Education, Haruna Idrisu, also doubles as the Member of Parliament, long-standing Member of Parliament for Tamale South, and doing us the honors to honor our request to ask and answer some questions, particularly on teacher recruitment, backlog of allowances that need to be paid, improvement in infrastructure, senior high school, etc.
You haven't credited it. We have established the scholarship authority. Now, this favoritism and then cronyism in award of scholarship, there'll be discipline. But they have a huge arrears, about 860 million.
The scholarship secretary.
Yes, and I'm worried. You see, you cannot send somebody abroad into third year of the person's training. You ask him to come home. You are destroying the future of that person. And I think that it's important that we attend much more urgently to the needs of those stranded students abroad who are on government scholarships. Thank you, Roland.
Thank you very much. And well, that's where we have to call it a morning for our show this morning. Make sure you join us same time tomorrow morning for another edition of TV3 Newday. Bye-bye.
All right.
Everybody, do what you do. Your smile will bring you sunshiny day. Everybody, do what you do. Your smile will bring you sunshiny day.